Hello, everyone. So what I'm going to do for Rome is I'm going to read each section and I'm going to try to chunk it in about 10-minute segments. And so I'm going to start reading through it. I'm going to stop and pause and talk about things as we go. Try to help you and figure out where the section review questions are and where you're going to go back and find that information. So this is chapter 10, section 1, Geography and the Rise of Rome. If you were there, if you were a ruler of a group of people looking for a site to build a new city, after talking with your advisors, you have narrowed your choices between two possible sites. Both locations have plenty of water and good soil for farming, but otherwise they are very different. One is on top of a tall rocky hill overlooking a shallow river. The other is on a wide open field right next to the sea. Which site would you choose for your city and why? Well, I like the idea of being on top of a hill because then I have a bit of a defense and I can look and if people are trying to attack my city, I can defend them better. So that might be a benefit to being on top of a hill. However, if it's on a wide open field, then I have lots of area to grow food and I can see people coming from a really long way away. And so then that gives me more time to get ready. And if I'm right next to the sea, if I have to, I can run away and live to fight another day. And I can just get into a boat and I can sail away. And if I'm right by the sea, then I can use the sea for trading and traveling and for fishing and food like that. So there's benefits to both. Where would you pick? And you can always let me know why in the comments or send me an email. Building background. So we'll move up a little bit. So now we're in this section here, building background. From a small town on the Tiber River, Rome grew into a mighty power. Rome's geography, its central location, and good climate were important factors in its success and growth. The city's rise as a military power began when the Romans went to war and conquered neighboring Italian tribes. The geography of Italy. In this section, the geography of Italy, we will be answering questions 1A, 1B, and 1C of the section review questions. The geography of Italy. Rome eventually became the center of one of the greatest civilizations of the ancient world. In fact, the people of Rome conquered many of the territories you have studied in this book, including Greece, Egypt, and Asia Minor. That's where Mesopotamia is. Physical features. So this specifically is going to help with question 1B. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a second paragraph to read under the geography of Italy, and that's going to actually answer the question 1A. Italy, where Rome was built, is a peninsula in southern Europe. If you look at the map on the next page, you will see that Italy looks like a high-heeled boot sticking out into the Mediterranean Sea. Physical features. Looking at the map again to find Italy's two major mountain ranges. On the north, up here, on the north are the Alps, Europe's highest mountains. Another range, the Alpines down here, the Alpines run the length of the Italian peninsula. This rugged land made it hard for ancient people to cross from one side of the peninsula to the other. In addition, some of Italy's mountains, such as Mount Vesuvius, are volcanic. Their eruptions could devastate Roman towns. So we have the Alpines that are running down the length of the peninsula. And so that means that it was hard to get from Rome and go across the peninsula to the other side. And here is Mount Vesuvius, which is a volcano. Continuing on with the reading. Not much of Italy is flat. Most of the land that isn't mountainous is covered with hills. Throughout history, people have built cities on these hills for defense. As a result, many of the ancient cities of Italy, including Rome, sat atop hills. Rome was once built on 7 hills. Several rivers flow out of Italy's mountains. Because these rivers were a source of fresh water, people also built their cities near them. For example, Rome lies on the Tiber River. So if we go back and look at our map, we can see this line here. This is the Tiber River. So it starts here and it flows down through the mountains to Rome. This is the last paragraph on page 295, climate. This also helps answer question 1C. Most of Italy, including the area around Rome, has warm, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. This climate is similar to that of Southern California. Italy's mild climate allows people to grow a wide variety of crops. Grains, citrus fruits, grapes, and olives all grow well there. A plentiful food supply was one of the key factors in Rome's early growth. Reading check, drawing conclusions. How did Rome's location affect its early history? Well, if I think about the fact that Rome is located in Italy, and Italy is in southern Europe and in the Mediterranean Sea, and then I know that its climate is much like California with dry summers and mild winters, then I know that where Rome settled, they could have lots of food where they could grow, and they were kind of in the center where it was easy to get to other things. Rome's legendary origins. This is going to help answer questions 2A and 2B. So the answer to question 2 is under the section of Rome's legendary origins. Rome's early history is wrapped in mystery. No written records exist, and we have little evidence of the city's earliest days. All we have found are the ancient ruins that suggest that people lived in the area of Rome as early as 800 BC. However, we know very little about where they lived. Would it surprise you to think that the ancient Romans were as curious about their early history as we are today? Rome's leaders wanted their city to have a glorious past that would make the Roman people proud. Imagining the glorious past, they told legends or stories about great heroes and kings who once built their city. Aeneas, that's the word in red. So this is a person's name, Aeneas. And here is a statue of Aeneas as well. So the Romans believed that their history could be traced back to the great Trojan hero named Aeneas. When the Greeks destroyed Troy in the Trojan War, Aeneas fled or left with his followers. After a long and dangerous journey, they reached Italy. The story of this trip is told in the Aeneid, or an epic poem written by a poet named Virgil, around 20 BC. According to the story, when Aeneas reached Italy, he found several groups of people living there. He formed an alliance with one of these groups, a people called the Latins. Now we're on the next page. Together, they fought with other people of Italy. After defeating these opponents, Aeneas married the daughter of the Latin king, Aeneas, his son, and their descendants became the prominent or the important rulers of Italy. So one founding story is that Aeneas, who was a Trojan hero, left the city of Troy at the end of the war, and he fled. He ran away and found and stopped in Rome. And there he made alliances, or he made partnerships with other groups of people. And those people that were already living in the Italian peninsula were called the Latins. And then together they were able to defeat other people that were there. And then Aeneas married the daughter of a Latin king. And then they had a son, and their descendants, their children, became the kings and the rulers of Italy. There's another story of how Rome itself was founded. Romulus and Remus. So first name is Romulus and the second name is Remus. And here's a picture of either Romulus or Remus, and here's the other one. Here's Romulus or Remus. So the two boys with their big fluffy dog, or wolf. So wolf. So here's the story of Romulus and Remus. Among the descendants of Aeneas were the founders of Rome. According to the Roman legends, these founders were twin brothers named Romulus and Remus. So at some point in time, their great-great-great-grandpa was Aeneas. So Romulus and Remus were somehow related to Aeneas. In the story, these boys live exciting lives. When they were babies, they were put into a basket and thrown into the Tiber River. They didn't drown, though, because a wolf rescued them. The wolf cared for the boys for many years. Eventually, a shepherd found the boys and adopted them. After they grew up, Romulus and Remus decided to build a city to mark the spot where the wolf had rescued them. While they were planning the city, Romulus mocked or made fun of one of his brother's ideas. In a fit of anger, Romulus killed Remus. Then he built a city and named it Rome after himself. Oh my goodness. So here are these two boys, and this might sound like a familiar story, that there was a baby put into a basket and put into a river, and somebody thought that they should not be alive anymore. And then somebody else rescued them, and then they grew up and they did famous things. So this is a story that's told repeatedly throughout history. So if you can think of another story of a child put into a basket, put on a river, and then grew up to do big things, you can send me an email or write a comment in the video and see where you make that connection. So these two brothers are born, put into a basket, float down the river, don't drown. And then that wolf, here's the wolf, comes and rescues them, grows up, and they grow up to get taken care of by the wolf. And then a shepherd finds them going, boys should probably not be being raised by wolves. Maybe my wife and I will take them. And then they grow up with the shepherd, and they do very good things. They're very kind people, very helpful. And then eventually they find out that they really are, they should plan the city, and they make the city, they plan the city, and they get into a fight over what it should be named. And eventually Romulus kills Remus and calls it Rome because he won. So he got to do what he wanted to do. So that's a little bit about Romulus and Remus in the first section. I'm going to end this video here. It's about 10 or 12 minutes long right now. And then I'm going to start another one with picking up with Rome's early kings, and that's going to help start answering question number 3. So this video covered the answers to questions 1 and 2 for the section assessment questions at the end, which are your homework. Thanks for watching.